Greetings, greetings. How we doing today? Love it, love it. That was the music from Eturnal as Buddha. I am Buddha Eternal, the feather. As we look at, we give ourselves a connection to my eye. See the feather here. So I became wounded feather Buddha Eternal. There is these livelihoods that we all go through in a wave and a sign. And I'm giving thanks to Karmic Dynasty to bring me up in here to actually give more of an enlightenment to how we see sign and wave. So because that's been just like the actual symbol, the logo that she has, is one of those destines that you find out you as a being, you're going to come out with principles that's going to help you interject self better to apply what's there for you, not just by the apple, but knowing the fruit, knowing the root, knowing the tree, and knowing the stem. And this is where we find out about fungus and the grass and how they all work in the same mechanism to help give us what we need in our livelihoods. And so we're going to show some coexistence. Today we're going to go over the Black Adam. What? This movie is phenomenal. Now, of course, I know some of y'all are not CGI fans. Well, oh well, I can't say. You're just not a CGI fan. If you look at our ways of in the past that we didn't ever get to those points where CGI was put into those movies. So when we were seeing movies put out, it was mainly like black and white, dumbed down energy. And so I had to say dumbed down, meaning the idea that it was in a slower pace, very moderate to like if you go back right now and watch any of the stuff we used to watch, you'd be like, man, I'm bored. Turn this off. I'm gonna do something different, you know. And that's what made it more of a mechanism to how we even see how he basically this right here is like a Dragon Ball Z aspect. If you look at how the DC era gave us a new wave of looking at what was sacrifice. How do you see beyond the sacrifice? Because you know a lot of people go through sacrifice. Those wings that we look at, is it you? And there it is, the sacrifice right there that you don't see in a comic book. They show a different aspect. So learning this one with the magic that he's speaking of, he says, you know, you got weak magic, because this is what he came to show people. He's that connection. And then there's the smasher that we call Adam Smasher. And when she's in there as well, you can see that there's another connection to not only the Adam Smasher, the sister that he's involved with that happens to be in the movie, and then you got Hawk, the mercenaries. I mean, this thing is like compact with a lot of stuff. I didn't even skip out on my brethren, Dr. Fate. He's like beyond the mentality of knowing some certain things that you'd be like, wow, it's amazing. These people were not knowing who this being is, and he's showing him like them. You're showing me who I am when I got to show you who I am. You evidently don't know who I am. So as he's walking in, he starts saying with the the cloak. So you can see like a cloak and dagger will be next. You know, that's how DC be doing it, putting you next to the next. But that part was like the funniest part to me. Them seeing what to do, and then he's like, did he catch that missile? You know what I mean? Like what the? And then for him to disintegrate this character, then fly off. And he's like, well, I guess we ain't gonna never see him again. The next thing you know, bam, he's back. And he's like, oh, shoot. So now they had to actually help him. We got to look at these avenues of what's going to help us too, because we're in these same things of who is Adam? You know what I mean? And Adam represents the powerful one as a man, but not as a man. See, what the trick is putting a movie out so that you will only think that it's a movie. Yet you got to go into an atom. You got to think what Adam is. Adam is, those actual energies, just like how we talked about the symbol. It's energy that flows within us. So what I did was I got a little sample here. It's the picture that I want you to focus on. This picture actually opens up your brain and the lower part of the brain. We say the brain and the lower part of the brain. That would be actually saying your root brain. We have a root brain, we have a crown brain, we have a third eye brain, we have a throat brain, we have a heart brain, we have a solar plex brain, and we have an abdomen brain. Now, when I say brain, these are where you get your messengers from. You throw out messengers all the time, and we got to learn how these messengers work. Now, when it came down to Black Adam, he started off in the movie of Kondak, and they're talking about 2600 BCE. So that's before Christ. And if you could think before Christ, then it's like, what you talking about? That's like birth certificate and don't know what that means, estimated on energy. So we talking about the place before Babylon, before Rome, before the pyramids. I said, oh, you want to talk about before the triangles? Oh, let's go. Let's see what you talking about. So they also said when they finally had real idea of what self-ruling was, until someone came, his name is Akhton. Now it's Ahkton. So I was like, yo, you too close to Akhton. So when we know about Akhton, that's the representation behind me over there. You see that Ankh? The Ankh represents the actual connection of the Trinity. So when they said Akhton, I said, wait a minute, that's not his name. So they didn't put the A in it, and they didn't add the N in it. So N and A is missing out of the name, even though we know this name already. So King Akhton, right? And they're wanting Eternium. Now Eternium is just like vibranium. Yeah, and so you see that picture right there. That was the actual idea of showing us the Libertas or the Apollo's connection from horses, right? They're doing it from a sun god energy. So this again is like another format of how we seeing this as a Black Adam. Now there's separation all the time. Go ahead, say something, sister. Hey, this.
Peace, everyone. Welcome to Karmic Dynasty platform. I'm glad you all here with our brother Eturnal El Bey, and today he is here. I'm glad to see everyone in the comments. I've shared the video, so that's where I was at. Y'all share the video. Comments are welcome, of course. Brother Eturnal El Bey looks forward to your comments and your interactions as always. Share the video, like, and subscribe. His YouTube channel is below. You can go check him. Is it in here? Your YouTube channel is...
Oh yeah, okay. It's Eturnal El Bey. Just Eternal, the way it is.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna work on that. And also subscribe to the Karmic Dynasty channel. I got my pad. I had to get my notebook, y'all. I was here, but I'm here now. I got my pad. I'm ready. Because y'all know he coming with that pen and pad info. Knowledge. Gratitude for being here.
Yes. Give thanks for y'all being here. Yeah, hit the soundboard on that one. That's authentic all day. So we were talking about the 7 chakras and how the 7 chakras are the brain. And because we were just getting into Eternium. Now, Eternium is written Eternium. Now, we know Eternium like eternity, eternal. You know, this is basically how it helps your vibratorial system. So vibranium, like Eternium, is in that same aspect, just that this is what they did. They changed it. Okay. They changed it. And what they did was they created an opposite of what you're seeing. So now vibranium is like the good thing and Eternium is like the bad thing. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. They're doing some little, they're reversing the V and the E aspect. But if you look at vibranium is zigzag energy. Ethereum is more flowetry. So etherical is what that word. So atom sphere brings ether into the area. So your etheric energy, your skin, your darker your melanin, basically the high tonations you can get. Like you can get a lot of heavy frequency. If someone, let's say someone got shot and you're like, oh my gosh, but you'll feel it more than the other. And that's how we're starting to pick up on these things. And I'm glad you put that out, because you're seeing now how I said measure, because this is what you're basically doing. You're measuring who you are by the compass and the square. They say the 45 degree. We know this from the Masons, and not just the Masons. It's the Moors that's how the Masons got it. So now Masons to Freemasons, there's ways that you can see the sect of sections from the triangle. That's an upside down triangle, and you see a right side up triangle, but it's used as the compass. And then you got the olive branch right on top of it. So we're putting more than what you think is being seen here. And then of course you see a chain over there on the left. So there's a lot of Adam being not just the black Adam, it's being the secret society Adam. So there's two ways that someone can play the musical way, because it's called Warner Brothers who's showing you this. However, it's people who's in it that's also gotta orchestrate themselves. So with this, they have elements, and Eternium basically is about elements, right? And so in the comic book, we talk about the demons. There's 6 demons, right, that Adam had to have in order for him to really be Adam. Now in this, they didn't say these were demons. They actually said they were deities. So they got a different twist of how they're using the good with the bad, or the bad for the good. And that's where Shazam come from. This is another form of Adam, right? And now you see him as like George, but we wouldn't know who this character is unless you one of these people. And he's black. They give you a black statue. So they always give you the darker melanin statue, and we wouldn't know if this is black because they're saying it's black, or it's black because it's nobility. And this is how we get the Dark Knight, Batman. So there's a lot of not knowing Ma'at. Ma'at represents day just as much as Ma'at represents night. Now, of course, night, we don't think of it the same way. So why am I bringing up Ma'at? Ma'at is the feminine side. The masculine side would be the symbolic symbols that we use, like the bird's beak is a triangle. So there's things that you're using, we're using constantly, whether it's a bird on a quarter or a dollar bill. They're giving you the science. It's just not telling you completely where your science is coming from. So now we're talking about people that was mining. They were mining as prisoners of war, and they were balancing themselves. Okay, see, and here's emancipation, just like with the box hat, the top hat, you got the hands inside. Why they got their hands inside, and the only person that got the hands outside is Abraham. But this is where we get abracadabra. ABC is ABKDE. And so there's the pyramid behind them, if you don't notice, is a triangle. And that's what they use throughout this whole movie. They use like 3 triangles on this bench that the little brother got on, and he put his hands up doing this. And it started off with a brother named Harut. And the name is Harut. So they put H-U-R-U-T, Harut. I said, wait a minute, this Harut. But they didn't want to put their, the full name. You gonna recognize who they are. But the average person who's like, say, oh, I'm full blood this and I'm full blood that. And so when you're, embedded in the Christianity or Islam or wherever your, sect come from, you only gonna know a partial of what's going on. And that's why this movie is so intricate, that you can get it from different angles and you can see what they're really saying if you're not in all of these one sect energies. So just like I was saying with the body, you have 7 chakras. Now, I just told you there's 6 demons that they just said. Well, these 6 demons are also how they were just saying that they were serving for good purpose, and they also had served for bad purpose without knowing, of course. And so how did he end up being this man with rage as Black Adam? That's what had me to go deeper into the movie, because at first I was like, well, maybe he's a bad guy. And then I was like, wait a minute, they can't have a bad guy. This is The Rock. this is like one of our idols. This is like the Scorpion King and all these other movies he made, Red Notice, and it's like all these other movies that you're like, wow, Jumanji? Nah, you can't put him as the bad guy, because then we're gonna think he's always bad. And of course he's played bad roles. Not saying that, we want him as a bad guy, just that it's already a set cosmic law that's going on around this too as well. And we're not looking at that. We're not looking at what's the zodiac sign of Adam. Do you know, sis? Yeah, they know the truth. And I want to say they don't want to keep it. They want to keep it from us, yet there's no choice but to show us, because just like that crown, that's the Ethereum that they were putting together, coming off of this prisoner who happened to find one piece, And you can see that just like man, see there's a sect in here I got of the secret society. They talk about man, right? It will be seen that the whole of Westship theory, which is Adam, was in reality a new rendering of the ancient secret tradition relating to the fall of man and the loss of his primitive felicity. But Willis, the ancient religions taught the hope of a redeemer who should restore man to his former state. Westship, or just his name Adam, looks to man alone for his restoration. Men, that's lettered M-E-N, he observes, no longer love men, but only such and such men. The word was, see the I, that's the I they were showing all the time. No longer, but quite lost. Thus, in Adam's Masonic system, the lost word is man, and its recovery is interpreted by idea that man should find himself again. Further in Adam goes on to show how the redemption of the human race is to be brought about. And so now he writes his own basically way of regurgitating our morality. And so you're seeing this in this movie if you're not noticing it. So you're seeing someone bringing out this as a secret society. Here it is right here. The secret society. And you're just basically, this picture here is the beginning of how a lot of this started. And you'll see Adam at the end, he basically breaks the throne. But you don't want to break the throne. You want to recognize the woman is the throne. Like how my brethren here, which me, at the scope, was giving homage to the sister. Now, someone gave a comment to that, and I had it on Facebook, and it was like, you gave a homage to the sister? And I was like, yeah. Like, what? And so, and because of the religion that he was in, he felt that that was blasphemy, or that was, you know, Sabbath for us to do certain things when, you know, the woman basically, she horn in the baby. And what we do but put energy into it, yet she carries the source all the time before we even put energy into it. Okay. All right, so there we go. And if you read that right there, you can see how the result of Kundalini is the idea of how we miss the avenue of how we relate to the not only the planet, because this is Avatar too, the same connection, the same surrogate.
Let me read this through.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Which is either a result of a Kundalini experience or leading up to one. It is in fact a metamorphosis of this human experience in its own right, of the body, mind, and soul's evolutionary process, elevating us to higher understandings of who we are and how we relate to this planet.
And that was very important because Adam, when he started off, you know, someone grabbed him by the shoulder and was like, let me see your hands, amigo. And the way they was passing off the ranks, all these mercenaries who was like passing him, was like, I'm not gonna do it. It went from commander to chief. If you notice, they were saying it, but so that's letting you know one was militant. Here we talking about one in a different type of militant, because you're talking about Indians when you say chief. So it's indigenous or aboriginal. So now they say, yo, chief, and then it said, you got this, bro. So now it went from just like a regular way of like how we say a higher power to his lowest. This guy right here is another rank, you know, and you can see the crown of Moloch, but they're using Moloch is the actual horns that they're wearing are up. It's supposed to be down. This is how we knew there was a reverse here in all the things that when we're seeing it. Take the homage to the woman. Because that's right, she is the creator. And because if you look at the fine tune of how they made the militia in front of us, this is how we see that we became docile in the energy. Because you're seeing one child do this. And you know there's multiple, but what he said was impactful. He was like saying to him about how we can't stand up to these people. And he was like, nah, you know, because you're gonna die. You just saw how he killed the other brother. Like he wants stuff from him. He's like, yo, but if we had a hero, and he was like, no, he said that's a dream. He was like, shoot, but if we had more heroes, we ain't got the dream. You know, so it breaks that chain off of saying we need more than just one of us. So now you're seeing a reversal in the movie, even though, like I just showed you, what's Adam, he didn't want it that way. So this new Adam is different from the comic book. This right here is the crocodile aspect. And when you look at that, that's going to actually show you just like how you bite yourself. You end up biting yourself, but then you have a replica of your bite. So there's going to be a shadow of the bite. And now this is what the X end up being, just like a T. We have basically a Coptic energy and a galactic energy. And we have those going into where it just basically intersectional moments happening to you. Just like when you cross the street, you're not just crossing the street. Even if it was one way, you're going to look both ways. You might not think about cars coming this way. You might have to think about dogs coming that way or bikes coming this way. So it's not going to say, oh, I'm looking for cars all the time. It's going to be, I'm looking on both sides because I got to protect myself left and right. This is how you get into your mind hacking. When you start to show, can you read those, my sister?
Mind hacking. How to change your mind for good in 21 days. Overcome addictions, conquer fear, improve your career, fix your relationships, find happiness. And this by Sir John Hargrave.
Now notice the Sir is up there. So when we wrote Sir, Sire, all these was like of the excellency, yet it was when they called it Lord before Sir. So now Sir was Sire, and then Sire was really Esquire. And all these names were nobles. All these names were Els and Beys and Alis and Als and Days. So the names got to a lower vibrational tune, just like how I was showing you the 7 chakras is how we like, basically how you're saying we're falling. Man has fallen. So 12 meridians, basically like are all 7, just collaborated in the center of the body. And they just basically fell up into itself. So now that we know that it collided in itself, we're showing Adam coming back out, right? And you're seeing just like Obama, he has his own way of like how as if we saw ourselves falling. And then they're saying, okay, well, we rising back up. Now you're seeing the 3 and the 1. This is how you know it's symbolically 31 all the time. There's ways that people are talking to us, either it's 13 or 31 in reverse, to get you a different way of looking at yourself. Now, 31 represents that vertebrae up your back. So that's why it's important to learn your 4. That's why it's important to learn that, like over here, this is the area of Sobek. But when we say Sobek, that's like an alligator. That's like a crocodile. And so just like here, sister wearing a star on her head is went from 4 as a star could be to now a 5-point star. So she became one who was the top of herself. Now, the thing is, her triangle is up at the top when it should be her nose as the triangle, because that's where we know where our triangle starts. The square starts at the top of the head. So that's like her changing herself so she could be somebody else. And that was you. She had to be the temple. We knew we had a temple, but this is more like a Ku Klux Klan type style. So we're getting a difference on the realities of how the Moors who had it, then the Masons had it, and then the Ku Klux who are different from the Masons. They got different Masons now. So you got Mason, you got Mason. So it's starting to separate. So when you see this character named King Aktun, he has an upside down star on his chest, and he rocking it the whole time. So I don't know if y'all was paying attention. So by the end of the movie, when he finally coming out as his generational being, you can see it full-fledged. It's the upside down star. You know what I mean? It's right there where his nipples are at. And I was like, yo, they are perverting us. Why are they even throwing us the information? All right, so the symbols, he put the triangle symbols, and you got to think about this. When Haru was in the existence, he was talking to his dad loyally. But when his dad, if y'all paying attention to the movie, you got to get to it further where all of a sudden he's like some kind of destroyer. And so they said gods are destroyers just as much as they're creators. And I said, okay, well, now how could he be a god as a good one, as a hero, because that's what they're looking for, heroes. And they weren't saying heroes, they were calling them champions. This is how we got out of the word of God. See what I'm saying? God, Lord. When you go into the Bible, you end up finding that out, because it go from God and God to Lord. So now this is what they were calling a god to everybody, a pharaoh. So all of this, just like the air having a different way of holding things, that's not air no more. That's really gravity. And you're seeing the actual 6 of the realms that we were speaking on in your chakras, giving you an energy from Shazam. And so now those different, every letter has an actual vibration. So they're putting the pulsation with vibration, and now you saying Sha, like Sa and Ha, Sha, and then Zzz, Zam. You know, you put Ma is Zam. I mean, Ma is Am. So when you amp up, you actually turn on something, and you wouldn't know how you turn. It's an abracadabra moment. We are the knowing of the Moses, but we didn't see what Moses did. So the Moses is a representation of the bull. Now, if you get into religion, you know, we sacrifice the bull. But now if it's a holy Bible or 2 Bibles or 2 bulls, it sounds like Ba bull. That's why, you know, there's a red bull and there's a blue bull. Our energies, just like from Brother Sanchez, he dropped that jewel hard. Our energies are coming out through the chakras. So if we're saying from your blue, which is not here, is actually right here, and then it's your throat from here, or your throat from here, your light blue and your dark blue. Now you're going into the purple, which is a combination. It's not just purple, or not just blue, is a mixture. It's your red or your feet connection along with that blue. So now you do make purple. So now there's a different type of purple. Now this brother right here, you see clearly this is the first connection of our first actual superhero, but they didn't call him Adam, but yet there's that T on him like an Adam, and then he's the Black Panther. So it's like a mixture. And then he got looked like Dr. Strange outfit on. So there's a lot of, they like, it seemed like he a combination person. But this was in 1945. So to give you a Adam, but in a different phase Adam, we wouldn't know. But this how he looked like Adam. It looks just like him, you know, and it's the replicas that we do, the doppelgangers. So just like when you saw the little brother on the skateboard, it was important to pay attention to this brother. He was really the connection. His name is Amun. And so in the script of the movie or the comic book, they switched it. Amun supposed to be the one who gets killed. That makes plenty of sense. Yeah. So Amun was supposed to get killed, right? And he's supposed to got killed by his uncle, and his uncle became Black Adam. That was in the comic book. So this went totally different from how it went. And then in order for him to be Black Adam, he had to call on 6 demons, and they were messing up the world so that he could still be Black Adam. So this is the difference between how that worked. And Shazam was before him, right? That's why this is a BCE. They're trying to get way ahead of everything. And so Shazam was before him, and then Shazam was the one who had to come fight him so he could get rid of the demons that was on the earth. Now this is the part where he on the skateboard, and he's basically talking to his mom and saying, yo, I want to go with you. And she's like, no, you can't, you got to go on about your business. And see, he wearing the orange right there. So you knowing this is a Buddha stance. We come into our ash, and when we talking about ash people, that's like the black people or the burnt people. So when we talking about ash, Nagas Buddha, that's known as the ash people. You can see that this is where also we get the avatar. You're getting to the blue people. So this is again another melanated. You don't know what they're talking about you, but you looking at it, you're like, what am I looking at? And you get caught into it. And he come in first with a hoodie on and his red orange, right? And he got a book bag on, right? And it gets dropped, and you see the Titans up there. You see the mother of all mothers, Wonder Woman, you know, and Wonder Woman is the Amazon. So that's the Nzinga. So we talking about Khalifa. So we giving you nationality without you knowing his nationality, right? And there's Flash up there, there's Cyborg up there. So they giving you the Titans. They basically showing you what the Titans about to start up, right? And they already had the movie out, so it's kind of giving you that connection. But then he starts to go in and talk about the neo-Mexican and the mercenaries. This is why this became that, because this is about the deities, the superheroes became the heroic people. So we got Black Panther here going against the KKK. And I was like, whoa, this, I didn't even know. But Black Panther was fighting the KKK. They ain't never put that out. So you think they were going to have to keep him in there? They kept him in there. He had to go fight. Eventually, he's going to have to fight KKK. You know, you got in the comic book. They ain't going to just keep putting stuff out without having to, you got to go with this comic book, brother. You coming off track. So that's what they did in this movie. They reversed the uncle, not make him a killer. And they didn't have an uncle in here. But the uncle they did have was the brother. So the brother was in there, but he was the help. And then he's a cancer sign.
And he was an electrician.
Boom! Fire lit. Fire lit. And you already know, someone that's a conductor. So a conduit. We're talking about water represents a conduit for electricity. So that was also a good key factor. Then Adam is a representation of Aries. So that's another thing we have to look at. The mother who was holding on her heirloom and whatnot, and the cat was asking, what's going on? You must got some like connection. She was like, nah, only when you evil would it be, you know what I mean? I mean, not only when you evil. It's just that it'll light up, but the way that it goes is the blood, and what that blood does, it channels the actual stone. So now we're looking at the bloodline and how the bloodline was bad, because her bloodline was good and that stone didn't charge up the way it showed for the negative. So there's a way that you can see that there's a good technology that's being put in front of us, like it only work for bad people, it don't work for good people. So Shazam is a mixture of 6 deities that they put out there: Mehen, Shu, Zudi, Zahudi, Haru, and Amun. I'm missing someone up here. Yeah, I'm missing somebody up here. But one was for courage, wisdom. One was for wisdom. One was for stamina. One was for being swift, and the other one was for being strength. And then I'm missing ones. I know you. Once y'all watch the movie, though, you'll get it, because it's not for me to give you all the information. It's for you to actually go and learn your own. This is your own stuff. And these names ain't even the same. For real, for real. I mean, Shu is, Haru is, Amun is, but this Zahudi, that's Tahuti. You know what I mean? They change the names. There might be Zoser that they put in, I think they put Zoser in on Shazam. So I was like, wow, I didn't even know they used the same names, but it was like, you got to watch both of those movies, because Black Adam is in that one also. And it's a different Black Adam, though. So you won't even think it's different producers. They're going to write different stories. So that's how the interpretations, like the Bible, has different 72 interpretations. You think everybody going to write it the same way? When the brother tapped him, he said, amigo, he said there was a spoke of where the hell this brother come from. But that's the Aztec. So we finding out when he said, let me see your hands, and he gave him a choke, it turned into lightning and then to fire. And then they start shooting. And then he said, weak magic. When he said the weak magic, that was a whole connection right there where everything was getting ready to start. In the comic book, they show how when Black Adam came into existence, he was mad because everybody was using magic all the time. And then he said, you know what? We're done with this weak magic. And that's how he popped up. He popped up in that aspect. So he was really knocking out people who was like on that fake magic concept. And there's a different way of how we now looking at it too, because now he's using it as mercenaries who using the weak magic, you know, the bullyism. There's the bull aspect. You know, he plays Scorpion King. So I'll be like, dang, is he going to play a bull, or, you know, what is he going to play? And so if he plays Scorpion King, opposition is the bull. So I'm thinking he playing the bull. But then when I look it up, it's like, nope. He playing Aries. I said, oh, okay, I see. That's why the pyramid was put there. The triangle was put there. All right. So we talking about when he said weak magic, he turned to Dragon Ball Z type style. He flying around all over the place and just zip, 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 zip. I mean, getting close, beating the brother down, drop him down, and going to the next one. I was like, yo, this is deep. So there's a helicopter to come out there, and it had 65 on the helicopter. Now, why is that 11? But then he says, where the hell was that? You know, and so now here again, where the hell he come from? There's this, they creating a hell on this man already. We don't know him from Adam, as they say. And so how did it start? It was when she was touching the Nefertari symbols. What? Well, with the Ankh and the connection to Aten. This is where we get our antennas from. So this is where we see the avatar, the big head scientist, in the middle of the crown, the big heart. She says the crown that drops. No, it says the bad heart gives the crown, then head drops. Now, no, wait a minute. In the middle of the crown, there's the heart, right? And when she grabbed the crown, and when it dropped, that connect. Oh no. I'm talking about there's a wagon. There's a Volkswagen. The Volkswagen is being driven, and the helicopter. No. That's another section. I'm talking about when the crown was put on this man's head. That's what I'm talking about. The character put the crown on his head, and this was Akhton. He put the crown on his head, and then his head dropped. And that's when this whole metaphor started. But when you look at that, this is how we also notice we have to go back into the movie and figure out what happened in the past in order for it to correct the present. And this is why this movie became so interesting. Not to say, oh, this is the same old, they blowing up stuff and things like that. Now, of course, they did start blowing up stuff. And that jam was like, they threw a Mercedes-Benz symbol on the truck in front of you. And my brother, he riding in a Volkswagen, you know, one of them old school joints, 1970, 1980 joints. The folks people's wagon, basically. And when they start rolling the window up, that's what I was saying. That was the funny part. And you know, he had his suit, he had the hoodie on, right? And that was like, you knowing this is now another connection, right? And when he's doing this, yo, he does it again with the Dragon Ball Z moment, and he jumps right on it like easy, and just looking at it, observing it, and then bam, like this is what man has done with magic. You know what I'm saying? To a point, that's how you see it. Electricity shoots up, not down. So we're seeing a whole other world being introduced to us that those who don't know you will just take you out as if they think that they can take you out. And then there's more to it because he got hit in the side of the ribs. And if you notice, you know, when he fell back down, that was the idea of the fall of man. So when he fell, it was on his right side, you know what I'm saying? And how did he get help? It started from there. All right. So Hawkman, he pops up and he's talking to the commander. And I don't know her from Adam, but her name ended up being Waller, which is the wall or law with the ER. You know what I mean? So there's a lot going on. Yeah. And Amanda, look at the name. Amanda. Adam. Again, with duh on it. You know, Adam, duh. You know what I mean? Like, all right, whatever. Y'all gonna try to play names in front of my name. I don't see nothing. All right, so they start off like a terrible mixture. She don't have no manners, and he don't either. And he's talking about him, and he don't even know who he is, and saying he's, you know, someone that's off the loose cannon. We're already saying the word cannon like Canaan or Canaan or I want to say Canaan. Yeah, Canaan. The idea of Canaan is this word cannon. And just like how we have cannon fire, cannonball, this is how to use canon law. So he said, well, he's a man like loose. He's basically saying he's a wild man, but he didn't want to say all that. So it's hard to see how they're going to finagle whatever they were acting in the role. But either way, they still kind of gave it some kind of play out so that at least we can catch it or we ain't catching it. Because first of all, this is a brother and a sister. This ain't even two different of the same complexion or different nationality. We're talking about our own people. And if you notice, having the rock in this was intricate because if you look at Adam on the comic book, he's in that same almost complexion, yet they didn't know how to put that face down to where does it look like is their nationality, our nationality, whose nationality is it? So you're getting a poly-Asian look which Rock plays the excellent part in that, because you're hearing the sister who's talking, right? And her name, who's actually the role of the mama, we would say that what was her name? Andriana. They had to change her name. They couldn't put Isis. Her name was supposed to be Isis. But they had to change her name because that was in the comic book. Her name's supposed to be Isis. But since it wasn't, they said, look, we got to still give you something. So they came up with Adriana versus Isis. So now, but you notice she's the one that's the main intricate part of this whole movie. And that's why everything's kind of like based on her. She's the help. She's the one that, you know what I mean? Like she's the Pisces. So there's the Hawk, who's the help, Kit, who's in there as Dr. Fate Adam, who basically said his ability is growth. Hawk, he has a bird technology science to a T on how he can hear different, he can speak to different animals. They didn't put all that in the movie. His strength is of God form. And then of course, Dr. Fate, he's like almost on the same level. He got psychic, telepathic, you know, he can mess your mind up, you know, you don't even know it yet. And then on top of that, of all things, he has an unk on him, but they didn't show you completely what that unk looks like. They had him kind of looking goofy on the unk, so they didn't really show the actual arms like it's supposed to be. So you're looking at some kind of loop thing on his neck. You might think it's some kind of like bowstring or something like that, but it's supposed to be the unk. And we know it because back in the day when the comic books were put out, they did that. King Tut. This is the example of Teth. Now they call him Teth Amen, but it's Tut Amen. King Tut Amen. So now, how do we get this name from Black Adam? Because Black Adam's supposed to be somebody who's a child, like Shazam. Shazam was supposed to be somebody who's a child to end up being an adult and doing adult things. That's why you're looking at this, you're like, what am I looking at? I'm getting confused. How about this? Hawk is really Prince Khufu. And Khufu is supposed to be, you know, from the Khufu Island, I mean, from Africa, the Pyramid of Khufu. So he's an actual prince. This is another way you seeing how these elements are working in itself. Oh, speaking of elements, we're over here on the chart of the periodic table. And now you can see why Adam and the spinoffs of Atoms was so important to go in with the AU, the raw. You are AU, you are gold. So what was he wearing? He was wearing black and gold. I said, oh, they going in on the black gold god. Oh, wow, this is some like Goku stuff, and we really ain't paying attention. Saint Roch, which is ROCH, Louisiana, is where Hawk's estate is at. So I'm like, oh, they over Louisiana Purchase in here too? They really going in over here. I need to, is this 1945 or some other date? It's like present day. Which day is it present day you talking about? Okay.
Whiteness studies.
Yes. And this is how you see the breakdown in the lineage, the diaspora. So when we're looking at, is it the little white lie, the big black lie? This is where we get also what we call marionette, like a bayonet. Take a take the rope over, a net over somebody's head, and you're using a bayonet. Or the same thing with the knife that has a connection to it. That's part of the bayonet. If you having this marionette, is 7 strings that's tied to you to make it a puppet. So people decided to do what we call the bleaching of their skin, or to dephase their self in reality by making satire. So they created satire, as they say, folklore, as if it's not real, to make it fiction. So this is where you get fiction and non-fiction from. So when we see it in the movies and they throw the CGI in there, you're like, okay, what's CGI? What's real? Based on a true story, is it? That's why Justice Society is in there. You're like, wait a minute, is this Justice League of America? Oh, this is Justice Society. It ain't even America yet. Okay, well, keep on going. Let me see what y'all doing. Black Adam uses his left hand to stitch up his right side. What is that about? So Adam do his own Eve thing. This is how you know there's phases in the diaspora. You showed it. The phases of the Marvel and how the phases of the Marvel is almost in the same phases as now the DC. And you're like, oh, that's how they're doing it. These are the combinations of, because what happened was the people that was producing and directing, they end up switching up people because the money won't, whatever. Now they're saying, well, I can get this person now. So whatever they were doing in Marvel, now they're also doing in DC. And we're seeing now how the timeline really is being played out through the Masonic, through the Freemason, through the fake Adam, because this is the fake Adam right here. But it made him to be a real Adam. His name is really Adam. They got Adam's Theory. They got even a movie for Adam. They got a movie on Adam. I forgot. I think it's called Adam's Project. Yeah. But this is the difference between power and position for the power. That's the difference. There's only 3 levels to it, but yet these 3 levels are on a constant. And so people that wanted to get in, they came up with these levels to it. So the rite of perfection is your entered apprentice, your fellow craft, your master mason, your secret mason, your perfect mason, perfect master, secret master, perfect master. Okay, so we got the
Just
connection.
the Adam project you talking about?
Yeah, the connection here where you see how them two, masculine, feminine, are having a combination over the child, and yet this man who's in it, he's basically like of the future, but they don't know anything about him. So he's basically looking at his self, and he's like a doppelganger. And you're finding out that this is how, this going into the past, back to the future, all that's the same combination. They just want to keep throwing it at you, so you got to catch on. So I said you got to, number 1 is entered apprentice, 2 is fellows craft, 3 master mason, 4 secret master, 5 perfect master. Now you see this is how the levels of your chakras are going. Intimate secretary, 7, that's your intimate secretary, number 6. 7, intendant of the, no, I say that right? Intendant of the buildings. Intendant of the buildings, my bad. 8, provost and judge. See how they go with these numbers? 9, elect of 9. 10, elect of 15. 11, chief of the 12 tribes. And this is how they were saying. It was like, one was the commander, the other one was the chief. And I said, how are they doing this? They're doing it in the movie too. 12, grand master architect. 13, knight of the 9th arch. When you say knight, you still could talk about black without thinking it's knight. You know what I mean? Okay, so now 14, ancient grand elect. 15, knight of the sword. 16, prince of Jerusalem. 17, knight of the east and west. So now you're getting the combinations like you have with the red and the white, east and west. 18, the Rosecross knight, Rosecruce knight. So you got the Rosicrucians. This is where you get the risk. You get the artisans. All of this, but how you get all that art all of a sudden? Where's it coming from? And that was on 18. 19, grand pontiff. 20, grand patriarch. 21, grand master of the key of masonry. 22, prince of Libanos, or knight of the royal axe. Now, when Hawk was fighting, notice he had a double axe. He was working with a spike ball first, but then he switched it. I said, "Oh wow, he's a mason." And is the commander of the royal secret. And then all he kept doing was talking to the elder. I mean, he fought him, of course. He fought Adam, but then he was at the steps talking to him. You know what I mean? So it's a lot that you gotta really look at. All right, let's go on back to Superman. Adam. Okay, there's a smasher. When he smashed him, it was like, what do I do? And he's like, then he came out and did a Hayuken and punched the crap out of him. And he knocked him flat out. He only hit him 1 time. That's your power. Everyone has that same power, the small punch to the highest punch. Now, when they didn't know how much power that they took him for granted. These people talking to him in a rude manner. So they didn't know who he was. They don't know how to recognize what you see, the gold inside of self. So they were saying kneel down or die. And I was like, what did they talk? How they talk? Even my own, it would be the elder. He over here talking in violence too. He was like, what do you say, kneel or die? I think that's what he was the one saying it. But the other one was saying, you know, we came here to demonstrate peace, even if we got to fight. What did he say? Hold on. First he was talking about him being a mass of destruction. That's what I really wanted to get to before I even got there. He was giving that to the younger generation, the little sister and the brother. He was telling them about their, you know, his powers, but they couldn't even get into it because they said, well, anybody ever talk to him? Nah, you talking to a man of mass destruction. So they made it hard for them to even think that there's a way to talk to him. Look at this brother. He's flying off buck. So that was like letting you know he got like God, like doing Super Saiyan type joint. This is Dragon Ball Z all day. After they fought Cell, he was like learning how to teach Videl how to fly. And he was showing her, use your happiness inside of yourself and you can fly. Or you can use it anger. Now, his dad showed him anger. But instead, in Dragon Ball Z, he's showing his woman he liked how to not only do it in anger, but do it in not anger. See, this character right here, that's his dad. Haruat, that's his dad that they're using as heroic. So they're thinking he's the same character, but he's not. He's saying to them when he finally talked to Hawk, after all the stuff, they was like, well, fight you up, beating you right here. This is the part. He was like, man, I ain't know. There's that punch. Woo, laid him flat out. All over, everybody was like, dang. I mean, that was the liberal side to it. And that's what the woman was saying. She said, how can you be coming out of here all, yeah, that was like the rock bottom. She's like, how can you come all the way over here acting like y'all the justice of society and y'all never popped up the whole time? We had all these people, you know, they call them the, they got a different name for the gang, but it's the Intel gang, Interpol gang. I forgot what they were saying, but they were in there doing infiltration on these people, and now all of a sudden you pop up, but you popping up for the wrong being. That's how she looking, like for the wrong man. We just got him up out of here, and we had to call on him. So it's like you calling on your higher power to come on and help these people. There's only one of them, and then when you come out, now you got all these other people, like three of them. Was it three? 1, 2, 3. No, 4 of them coming to fight him. So now that's your 5. You actually finding your 5 sections. So here they coming over here doing all. It's like, yo, y'all over here fighting me. Y'all ain't really talked to me. Y'all didn't. None of y'all. So right here from the start, she's saying how bad he was. And she didn't know him either. So then she started getting the people like, y'all, they green. I already let me know the green heart is not what they were going for. You see what I'm saying? That's how you see there's so much in the reverse. Was that motherly love? There was no motherly love. Now, who gave out motherly love? The one mother that was in the whole movie the whole time. So, when the son kneeled down, right? When that punch came out, that was the David and the Goliath thing. All right. So when the son needed Shazam to come through, he kept doing things to help him, you know, come see it, basically see himself. And so he brought the book in. He was reading the story to him and letting him know, yo, this is you. This is what everybody know you as you. But he's like, I'm no hero. And so that's why they had to go into this conversation and find out that, you know, because he's doing this for his uncle, you know, and she's doing it because, you know, she's alive. She's feel alive. She want to do some stuff, something to help out with. So everybody had their purpose, even Fate. But Fate touching the helmet, he's like, oh, some bad stuff going to happen. I don't know what it is, but I can't even describe it. It's just everything, you know. So no one really knew the truth about how the truth already been there. And so when the punch came, it was like, okay, now it's a moment of truth. You did all this. Yep, there go the helmet. And once he touched it, he knew what the hell he meant. He was in hell. It was in hell every time he touched. Like, dang, I keep. But that helmet is over 1,000 years old, so that was how he was connected to it, and it gave him that power ability. Now, if that helmet was taken off of his face, like they did prior in the movie, he basically ain't got nothing. But they were saying he was, kind of built. He been working out. He's older. He's supposed to know some knowledge, but I ain't see him do no martial arts or nothing like that. So, I don't know what kind of knowledge he had. There's a real reason why. The left hand was over the right when Hawk was talking to him. And you could see that it was because of how he was being like that, a J-Bo aspect. And you could see the energy of why the rage was there is because his son was killed in front of him. And that's what triggered him. So in his moment again, getting triggered was the present son, Amun, that's what they named him, was getting shot at. And he put his hand out, and now his rage got kicked in again. And this way he's saying, dang, I did it again, didn't I? So like us as people, we blank out sometimes. And when we don't realize, we're not breathing. And because that was Keen in there, this was dealing with the chakras. If that was Keen, he would have knew how to dealt with that and not take the rage out and just nearly destroy it. And so everybody had to cover everybody. It's like, oh, he about to blow up.
Yeah, because I actually blanked out yesterday, and because I realized in there afterwards I was not breathing. I had a rage moment yesterday, like Black Adam, just snap.
And you could imagine it's from how we see assassins, right? The king assassin shot a bow and arrow. That's the Sagittarius. Shot an arrow, right? Boom, in the chest. So I'm like, ooh, hit him in the heart. So I'm like, oh, there's some metaphor too at the same time, and
like,
because
I'm Sagittarius too.
Say again?
I'm Sagittarius too.
See what I'm saying? So that was right there to like, oh, you done killed my wife, you done killed my son. I've been locked up this whole time. So when Dr. Fate and Hawkman come up and they just pop out of nowhere, they don't know what he was dealing with. They don't know this other Adam. They heard about the first Adam, but they don't know this is the second Adam that was switched when they heard about the Adam. This is how we know that we got switched on the aspect. This might not even be, like I said, Adolf Hitler, but they gave us a stage Adolf Hitler, and they gave us the idea that we're from monkeys, and we know we're not. Clearly know that we're not. So that's the statements in our mind that plays heavy like the J-Bo. So to put the picture next to J-Bo and have us think that we're this docile energy, and that's why we feel that this rage can take over, and we know that rage is not a great thing at all. That's why we learn about how he was doing this or what he was doing. In this, he nearly destroyed seeking justice. Instead, he was exacting on revenge. That's what Hawkman basically brought out of him. And so now he reached Buddha enlightenment. And this is how you do it. You got the lotus, the representation of your third eye, and how we call it Kansu. So the Kansu is a representation of you waking up your higher zone. You're going into the Kepara, the father, as they say, of the sun, when the sun go down. Now, of course, when it rises, is connected by the mother. So we see that as the Venus Hottentot, the one with the heavy hips or the big hips. And this is why we see it as a connection to Shiva or Kalima or other connections of the Inda. What we say Inda to India, because India is also Indios. So when we wrote the word down, Dios also became Dia or Diot. And so Diot is Diwat and dual. So we have a dual or dial, sundial, the D-I-A, the D-U-A, the dua. We're making duals of ourselves. That's why we have the waters. We have daughters. That's a dual of ourselves. But we wouldn't know it until she start growing up and you're like, oh, she trying to duel me. And then ching, 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 ching. And so there's swords and power and position of words are in the position, yet is it power that they're releasing? So now, how much power am I throwing? Am I a giant? That's why when he came out of that fist, he was like, man, I could punch a giant. You might be David, I mean, you might be Goliath, but I'm David. Pow! Hit him hard in the chin. So you can see the aspect that even for going back to the same rage he had when his son got hit in the heart, he was like, whoa, I just seen my woman pass away. You locked me up. You got this arrow shot in my son. So his mind went ballistic. So he went off. And that was the beginning of the wipeout, like they would say for the flood. And this is how we look at, our avenues of what the flood, represented to us. We have a flood in our own, day-to-day things. And we find out like this, what after Amun-Ra finished creating the world, right? Okay, what we got here? Let me see. Oh, I can't really see. Okay. Yeah, so you see right here, this is how you know from the head, the fez, what we connect to, the same as what we call our higher priest people, and it was no different when they came out. They showed the variations of ourselves many times. So when we didn't know a God, it wasn't because we were disrespectful to him. No, that means we're ignorant to our own 7 senses, our own 7 chakras. So that's why they all had to get checked. Everyone that came over against him had to get checked. He checked them all, and he put it to a point where they was like, oh man, I gotta recognize this brother because he beating us up. And it was the fact that they were disrespectful from the beginning. So he's like, look, y'all disrespecting me. I gotta show y'all I ain't about that. And when they stuck to him, he's like, I've been what he said, I've been a prisoner most of my life. So I bow down to no man. You know what I mean? And that's how most of our women are right now. They've been feeling a prisoner in their relationships. So they be like, yo, I don't bow down to you. So it makes it harder now, even now, to see us, in the saying that we want a relationship. You got to have a relationship to relate first. That's the only way you're going to have a relationship. If not, you can't relate. It's just like me being in the dark right now. So I'll put this light on. Wait, I did put the light on. But it's just the idea of that. Like, we're in a sequence. Learn your sequence. Everyone has a sequence. You can be in the dark, but you got to actually enjoy your darkness so you can be in the light. And so from that, that's what the enlightenment was about. You're going to face death, right? And that's what he was doing when he was at the top of the steps. He was facing his thoughts, and he's like, man, I done hurt. Now even our moon, and this is my second time going through some rage that I couldn't even control. So now he's like, look, I might as well just stop doing what I got to do and let you just basically rule this, and I ain't gonna talk no more. I'm gonna just shut my mouth. He's like, all right, good. But that ain't always good. What you find out is that was probably the purpose of why he made you shut your mouth. Because he's thinking, or she's thinking, that you don't know any better, when that's probably what you need to say now. You have to express it. This is your moment to express it more than anything. So when you think of Amun-Ra, right, is creating the world that came through the prophecy to the creators of the Most High's ear. The ear represents Gemini, okay? So that's why we're paying attention to these things. The prophecy said that one day the great-grandson of Amun-Ra would displace him as ruler of the world. To prevent this, Amun-Ra created his granddaughter, the sky goddess Nut, proclaiming she would not give birth during any day or night of the year. Now, Nut, at the same time, already was impregnated with 5 children by her husband, the earth god Geb. Distraught, she turned to Tahuti, the wisest of all gods, for help. Tahuti pondered the situation and came forth up with a plan to help Nut. Tahuti knew that when the earth was new, the primordial god Heh, was H-E-H, had set the year at 360 days in length. And Tahuti set about to change the world. That's like my little Black Panther right there. And he's also my Khonsu as well. He called upon the moon god Khonsu which is either Khonsu or Khonshu, a well-known gambler and collector of magic. The god of wisdom challenged the moon god to go to a game of Senet, which is an ancient board game. The stakes of the board was high. Tahuti wagered a portion of his magic, and Khonsu bet a portion of his moonlight. The game was played, and Tahuti began. The wisest of the gods was able to easily defeat Khonsu. The moon god lost 5 days of moonlight to Tahuti. Since then, the moon wanes as it runs out of light after a full moon. This is how you're connecting to what we look at, the stolen legacy. And because it seemed like it's stolen, Hannibal the Great had the mighty elephant, the whole connection to that. This here of, the whole constellation of what we just said on the moon and the sun and the whole the moon and the sun, that whole connection. There's a distortment here, and we wouldn't know it until we start looking at pictures like this. And this is going to be on the walls and things like that, but you got to know what you're looking at. Is this daytime up here, or is this nighttime, or is this daytime and that's nighttime? Now, if anything, you outside, there's going to be a lot of traffic when it's daytime. At night, ain't a lot of traffic. So you're seeing the east and the west. And you're also looking at the diagram of how someone might not even know the ranks, but there's a higher and a lower rank. Just like how we had the Hawkman. Well, we got an indication of a service aspect. And Hawkman, he was a dark-skinned brother. And, of course, the light-skinned was, of course, being Adam, Black Adam. Now, if you look up here, there's still a poly-Asian in the picture. Now, the thing what they did was they made it masculine. That's why they wanted a masculine world. But we know the world is turning into a feminine world of divinity. And that's what we're supposed to have been had. And because they delayed it, it's about to happen. Ain't no choice. They got no choice. Because if not, the world gonna end on both ends. They don't want that. So they got to actually let us go and do what we're supposed to be doing. And that's those who know, your truth. You got to shine it. It's up to you to shine it. So you're seeing servitude. You're seeing how the people really gave homage. And the way they gave homage was giving homage to the ancestors, not to say we giving you sacrifice, but we giving you offering. We giving you honorship. It's a little different from those words and terminologies put into the religion. And when you look at it, you got the giant people, you got the small people. So we got Adam, different types of Adams, you know what I mean? And they're not all just men, they ain't all just women. But you see who's on top of things. It's not men. And that's why we got issues. Man got issue with not wanting to look at these pictures. So they say, wait, something ain't right. We ain't seen these pictures because they said no image before me. Now that they said no image before me, they didn't want to show you these images because it was like, well, I saw these images. So now no images before me. Let's make all men man. That's what I was reading to you about the Adam. So this right here, you can see clearly how they changed the nights to Boule nights. And so from Dougie Fresh, even our Ross level in the reggae to hip hop that we know now is rap, it's all changed. It's an era of these are the other Black Adams in a different world that we might not even know had an existence. And now this is let's switch it up because we really didn't want the women to get into who they are. We want them to stay even worse or lower than where they at. At where you're at or lower than where you at. And we can't have that. I never felt right for not having enough hugs from my mother because she got to go to work so much. And it's still happening. You know what I mean? That's not changing. And then the fact that unless you decide to say, forget this, I'm going to start working for myself. Yes, come on, mama, let's do it. I'll back you up. What you want to do? Do we take on what the nanny? They put nanny on mama, but nanny is an empress nanny. It's not. I just showed you I showed you like goddesses over here doing their thing. Look, I'll give it to you bigger if you don't think it's big enough for you. This is what you're supposed to be at. And not because you in vain, and not because she's saying I got to do this for you. She's doing this because she wants to do it. She don't mind doing this. That's how we know this is your polyation people that's going to come back and give you the homage. However, you got to be in your right mind, your left and right mind, not just, you know, one way. And you see she don't have anything on from her waist, from her breast on down. So this is giving you an indication that she got fertility, right? And the lotus. So you notice that the lotus comes from a certain area. So her knowledge is acquired of what she's got in her hand. And where did it come from? So when you saw all that, the homage of them bringing, you know, meat to them, it wasn't meat. It was showing you the constellation of where they were from. This right here, you seeing the same aspect they put to make it an emancipation thing. But this was about Mansa Musa and the connection to how we were at one point, the laws that we basically discovered was like manuscript. So we got Manuism. So we might not know where manners really came from, but we know we've been maneuvered in maneuvers, and we don't know the manual as a script. We might script something differently down on a piece of paper, just like that. Teth. Teth represents Tess and the Tesla connection, but it's also Tut, King Tut Amun. So we're talking about King Tut is a representation of the child, and how we saw it from his 13 to 17. We didn't know he got no older than that. It was the cutoff point. That's why at 18 you're a delinquent. That's why we come up with the civil, the citizen, these names, so that you'll be a part of either you are militant or you're non-militant, versus going into how the Buddhism, which is your 6 going into 7 in your age. How do you learn at 7 you have a Buddha side to yourself? And when this was brought to us, it was shown to be racist. And I'm like, whoa, how do we end up not knowing there was melanated Buddhas? Well, this is how we didn't know there was an atom that was melanated. We're going from 1 to 7. That's from Aries to Aset. That's from, why do they have Isis in there? Because she's Aset. So how did Adam run into Isis? Because that was to him to learn his meditational self. These are the Jade warriors. And if you know about Jade, this represents the Nagas. So they gave you Naga, and then they gave other people Jade. And then they said, wait a minute, these are black people. Wait a minute, these are melanated people. Wait a minute, all of them separated? Yeah, all of them separated, as the snake would be. Snake is a metaphor of the Scorpio. So, and how do they work together? Because it's connected to the bull. All these are Serapis Bay. So we got rainbow children. They came on this planet to show you, because maybe you didn't know, all those colors that we just did is the rainbow. So their whole mission is to get in tune with the things that, you know, basically messed us up. They're showing the different world. They're being able to show you this is the colors that come out of the color spectrum versus the black and just the white. It's a black and a white thing. No, it's not a black and a white thing. If you knew it was a black and a white thing, you're still stuck in just looking at colors being bland. You're still eating potato salad and never put mustard in it. There's giants on this world. Is that going to be black and white? I don't think that should matter now. All right, so flogging. This was the illustration of why they had them people in there doing all of that researching for them Ethereums. And when they put the, Eterniums, when they did the flogging, it became the whooping boy. And so they were using people to belittle them as men or even as women. But you notice there weren't no women in there. So the woman that was starting in the beginning is not to do the enslavement. They were doing the impregnant. So that was another form to the enslavement. There's parts in the movie that kept out. So that's how you can see that some of this was fantasy. This is why we know about Empress Menen. Empress Menen is one of those highest empress or priestess that was out there that we knew nothing about. But if you look at her face, she's clearly not just African. And most people want to label the one thing so that we won't see our widespread of our nationality. You can see that she has Portuguese look. You also see where the Arab look is from. So we're widespread in the what we call the golden ratio of our face, whether it's the nose, the eyes, the ears, the lips. How all of that of the 7 principle show us, like the pyramid, how much of the 3 and the 4 are we really in tune with ourselves? And that's why it was important to start off who's the guardian of the, there we go, a ton. And that's how you bring out this whole guardian aspect. What I wanted to show you was this, but they couldn't go into that because then I'll show you too much of what's going on. And this is what they were showing you when Adriana was going to the ground and she was touching stuff, but they didn't want to show you, because if they show you that, they got to show you the they got to show you the big head scientists, they got to show you Nefertari. And I've been like, oh, I can't do that. But what they did do is they put you in the Sumerian text, and there we go. You're getting the Iron Age, the Golden Age, the Silver Age. Yet from our knowing, our knowledge, we got more than just that Cro-Magnon man that they created and say that it was just, you know, the Bronze Age. We had different stages of the Golden Age. It wasn't just one type of Golden Age. So that's why this been like one type of gold. We got 3 different sections of gold here. We look at ourselves as gold. See this right here? This is men, M-I-N, not M-E-N, not M-A-N, but men. And he has the connection here. This is how you know it by men. This is the pyramid behind him. Stand behind me, Satan. Well, that's the same metaphor conversation. And there he is, sitting with the scepter as this part of his brain being erected. So now we know this as a building. Same thing as his precept is erected. So as above, so below. That's the whole connection. Then there's the red and the white. So how do the white and the red is there for? To make a connection. We might just saw ourselves being disconnected. And then you get this diaspora that comes from places like here. We wouldn't know, like in North America. Did you know that these are right from here? You know what I mean? Or did they come up with it? But when you see Daniel, you got 7 as the chakras. So is this Adam, Daniel at the same time? Because when Adam got back in tune with himself, he became Daniel. I mean, David. David became Daniel, 6-pointed star. Why would we need to know that? Because after the 6 demons, as we were saying earlier, got a disconnection, there's this 7th heaven. How we get the 7th heaven? Through her. You ain't gonna get nowhere until you know her. And if you don't know her, that's why it's a heavenly cow to other people and only an earthly cow to you. You might call her a heifer. You might even told her to move out the way because you saw somebody else. It's the energy, man. It's the energy. So we got to know her chi energy. She got the Mushin family dynasty in her. Now, I'm not saying you got to do her like chattel property, because that's why it ended up being the way it is. And we all looking like, what happened? I don't know what went wrong. You fell asleep. You, brother, you fell asleep. Wake up. Get the hell up. And she got the feathers on her, so she's giving you balance. She's giving you the ma'at. But she can't do that if you ain't giving her enough knowledge to know it. That's her. Now, of course, she gonna know it. It just don't push it too much, because then she's gonna be like, who you think you are? So that's the whole idea. He's pure in his whiteness. It's pure. Not, I'm gonna do it in an impure way. I'm not gonna say, well, since you don't know anything, I'm gonna take advantage of it. No, that's not how it worked. That's how it ended up being the way it is. And the way we did it was through homage. You can see here, the pictures are showing how they're into dancing. This is Amina. And you can see the difference in their ranks of who they are. And so with that, you got people who's going to play for you, people who's going to sing, who's going to dance. This is how we knew we were connected to the gods. This is how we knew we were connected to the deities. Now, out throughout the whole movie of Adam, they didn't show you nobody playing any music. So I was like, oh, they're missing something. That's all right, because that's not us, that's them. And that's how you see how it got switched up. And there it is, right here. The 2 and the 4. So we getting the idea of you getting the Coptic jars, you getting the builders and the pyramid, but you giving it to someone who's known as Khnum, and Khnum ended up being Amun and then Ra. But behind him is the one. So now you see the reversal of where they wanted you to go. I want you to go face death, but I don't want you to know what life is about. Amun represents going into the moon sign, but learning the light. So as you say dark, you become eternal. That's how it becomes the other side. When you grab the you become eternal. So they put this picture as a main key to everything. But this is not, do you know this as a man or a woman? If you don't know this as a woman, that's why we have issues. This is a high cheekbones, the nose, the lips. So when they wanted to image it, they created something else. But behind also is the other pyramid that we see. So behind me, Satan, stand behind me, Satan, was this picture, but it was illustrated from a bird's eye view. Not to say she's a negative. Satan represents natas, or nature. So how do we know that? It became words that's natural to us. And how do we give it in the same, in the same homage? We had to give homage to it. There was an excerpt saying, I was a slave. Remember I said that, and till I died, and I was reborn, and I kneeled to no one. That was in his mind. So as men, we were given, they said we were given once the heart. We were given once the heart out as a gift of magic, but then we got weakened by it and the way we were using it. So now, how do we get weak? It's just like what Ishmael said. If he was such a hero, why then did they bury him? And that's when you have to carry that connection of why were they going in there, grabbing the crown, and what's this about this character? And that's where you get the amigo connection. Now, amigo represents the border. So this is the Aztec brother that he ended up, destroying. So now I'm seeing Aztec, Sumerian, or Samu. So Samu or Hawaiian. And now where's the wings? They're right behind him. So this is like the falling of our nationality of people. And what did he do? He grabbed his neck, and now you see the head. So there's a whole, like a whole level to the, man, they just did the whole body right in front of me. I wasn't even paying attention, and it was great to see the movie. It was great to see how they slowed it down. I like how they slowed it down so we could see what was going on in our own. Like, if it was that fast, could we really see what's going on? You know what I mean? And if I was that fast, could I slow it down? Because that's what a lot of movies now are showing you, how to see it from a slowed down point of view versus just having it all speed up. There's another part when he was floating in the house. Now, first thing he did was shot the face of Superman when he woke up, but it was because of the energy, that rage he was still living with. So when he did that, that's when the brother was like, hey, fix your ribs, and then he ended up fixing himself. But then read the book, found out he was like back 5,000 years. It was in the Bronze Age. That's why I had to throw that up there. And how John Wayne was on the TV when he was busting through. So now they're showing Eastern Western. And he basically shot that TV quick. And then he's like, wizards. And that right there let me know, again, it's going back into the hat. You know what I mean? Because John Wayne was wearing a hat. So it goes into him finally running into him again. And now it's his turn. So now he basically is in the image of feeling like he's in the John Wayne Western, but now he's using his finger and shooting these characters with electricity. And I was like, yo, it was kind of dope how they put that together. I like how they did that. I was kind of keen on that. Eugenics is definitely all throughout the movie. That's why we're learning about it, how to look at from a history buff side, cultural side, buff side, you know what I mean? Because you got to get all the meat of it. It's not just, you know what I mean, they just wrote it down and they won't coming up with nothing. No, they planned this out, but they planned it out through all those that's under the branch of the trees. So when you look at the roots, Look at it from all those angles. Don't just look at it from one side. Look at it from astrology. Look at it from like how we was going through the zodiac. I was like, yo, they got zodiac for these people. Yeah, they got the zodiac for these people. That's why it ain't just a movie. So when they were doing stuff, they were talking about how they would, how he had to, go down. And that's okay. So now the Lion King represents the whiteness, what we were saying earlier about how the Lion King is in that same thing. The Lion King, that was a switch. It was this king first, this type of Lion King, and then it was the brown Lion King or the golden Lion King. So and that was from the Asians that had that lion. So there's another way of how we saw things, and it was the switch named Kimba. Yeah, like Simba, Kimba. Death, the dreams was spoken about from Haruet, but Hawkman, when Hawkman actually was being identified by what was going on, he ended up turning his head to the left, and so he only had his right eye when he said the word Shazam. So when this happened again, when he came back, it was another way of you seeing how the eyes being seen as the hawk. So I'm like, yo, they metamorphing stuff in here, and I wouldn't even noticed it. But the double axe that Hawkman had was that was the idea of it being as the Shango connection. So you could see that Hawkman, he was like being adamant about doing the right thing and being a hero, and that's why you see all that coming out of him. And so he was the representation of the other eye, while Aries was the first eye, he was the second eye. And so the second eye represents the bull, and he was like a bull metamorphed to the hawk. And that's how you see how the bull's eye has a bird's eye and a hawk eye. And that's the other connection to Khufu. Khufu is the connection to the scarab beetle and the Khonsu and the royalty. And there we go with Hawaiian side. Why would they have the rock there? Because the rock is created through the connection of Hawaii. And so just like Bob Marley, we want to know who's in your family that, who's this person? And now he's connected. Now you basically got yourself submerged. But just like Dragon Ball Z, they were showing how they were submerging people under the water. I said, this is Avatar again. So they putting people underwater, and they putting them, they making them go to sleep basically, and putting this thing in the mouth and whatnot, and sticking them under there. And I'm like, wow. And so there was a talk they were having. Okay, see right here. I'm glad you put that up there. There you see the guardians on the actual throne. There are the cats on the throne. So this is how we knew it was a Masonic conversation. Your same cats on your dollar bill. So the cat represents George Washington's face right in the middle of the dollar bill, while on the left and the right would be the pyramid and where you come from, the bird aspect. So the Ba energy. So how is he sitting is important as well. Notice his hand. One hand further than the other. Notice his feet. One is further back than the other. So this is how the Masonic conversation was given without having to tell you anything. And now, is there a dead body in front of him? These are the things you got to really look at and say, wait, am I looking at a picture? Or it's like somebody doing a sacrifice when there's supposed to be an honor in here. Black Adam was one of the major roles that was supposed to be an honor, but they discriminated him from the beginning when they put him into the roles. So we wouldn't even know it until now, how it's now being played where he's, he looked like a good guy. Hawkman wants to know what the Dr. Fate sees, but he kept telling him, I can't tell you. So he was like, it's basically, I'm being blind by fate. Okay. And see, these markers are the same connections to Shazam. Now, why the Flash got these lightning bolts? Why does Adam got the lightning bolt? And why does Shazam got the lightning bolt? They all illustrate a certain body and a body part. Like, Flash is the ankles, and then that's the Aquarius energy. That's the knowledge. That's why he was all brainiac and certain things of that nature, because it's going back to the head. And then Shazam is the heart. So he wearing the red and he got the yellow, and he made that whole connection. And then you got Adam, he's the head. So he's wearing black and he got yellow. So they still giving you the connection, but they can't tell you completely what are you looking at? You know what I'm saying? So you got the horns, like I said, is showing the pentagram. So you getting a pentagram statement on a lot of levels. And this again is another connection to how you see where the spike ball, because that's another connection. So that you got the pentagram, you got the spike ball with the triangles. So we see in the triangles, we see in the circle with the ball, and then it goes from the axis, you know what I mean? So they're switching it up so much that now you got to see how all these shapes are being put in front of you, whether square, triangle, circle. They got a shape for you in his vehicle when he's flying, and it has no screws to it. So it's all made of certain type of, element. And then it's a shape of a 6 hexagon right there in there, and you're in it, looking at it, but you might not know what you're looking at. So you're inside the womb on a lot of levels in this movie. You're like, whoa, they're over here having sex with me. I don't even know it. So it's about time and space. When you do that, you're creating time and space. The 4 to the 5 is like sitting into a chair, right? Like that's why we had to see him there. And then the 6 is both in his feet down on the ground. So that equals up to how they created these connections. And between Hawkman and Dr. Fate, they kept saying, this is a bad man, this is a bad plan. He's saying bad plan better than no plan. So these things that they kept saying in the scenario, so we're seeing where they were going with it. And then finally when he hits this, scene, he tells him that he's going to die. And he's like, oh man, shoot, I'm glad you finally told me, because, I ain't, I'm not scared of death. And he's like, well, that's why I didn't tell you. So he was basically giving him a blank slate, but at the same time, he had the memory. So to tap in again, it was kind of like having a nightmare or having a horoscope. And that's why you get predictions. And that's why, us, how we use predictions is us basically meditating. If you notice, he was sitting in the car, he was like, how long was I down? And he was like, oh, you was down for like good 30 minutes. And he was like, wow. He's like, next time just honk the horn or something. He's like, how can I tell you to honk? I ain't gonna honk the horn. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna disturb you. And that's how we notice that when we sit, meditate, you go in a longer duration than the time exists. And that's creating your space. And so if you do breathing techniques, instead of like, oh, I'm gonna blow up, man, y'all go in the room now, being able to say, wait, before I even interject, let me back out of the whole thing, and then reset the button, then walk back in. That's how you see that Black Adam, when he started to come into himself and had senses of conversation, he might have sarcasm, but you had to tell if he had it. Is that sarcasm? Oh yeah, that's sarcasm. I know that's sarcasm. But he was starting to change his mode, and then when you finally get to him at the end, he's a new character. I don't know if anybody paid attention to that. I did. The battle of his son was a defeat because of the demon child that he had to end up fighting, and the demon child was within himself. And then we're finding out that whatever the dreams that kept coming back, it was because he couldn't conquer basically his physical self, and he kept saying to himself he's not no hero, yet that was what was escaping him from facing his reality. He had to actually say, I am a hero, and I'm doing this because he was saying that to Hawkman. He said, the only reason why I'm doing this is because of him. He was like, yeah, for me too. And so they was actually saying he's the reason, but they're really saying Dr. Fate, who is the older being, is the reason. Who had died in the movie. Oops. Possibly had, I ain't gonna say what happened to him, but you can ask that part out. Who possibly didn't stay in too long in the movie. There was a reason for it though. He had to be a martyr so they can, do the commence of being together and bonding. So when you saw the 6-pointed star, that was on Adam Smasher. So you're seeing the levels of one who's supposed to be in as higher power, mid power, and lower power. Now you notice the 6-pointed star, Smasher, Adam Smasher, he was coming down. He didn't really know too much of anything. So he was like the blinded one on everything until he finally, you know, caught on. But by then it was at the end. Now he's talking to Adam. And he's like, yeah, we could be a good team. So don't push it. You know, there's that reality that we have to see from our giant people all on down to the smallest of our people. We all have, you know, a super heroic ability, whether it's air, you know what I mean? You might be telekinesis. You might have great empathy on energy, sympathy on energy. So how do you use it is really your savior side. So what we found out about Adam is he was a destroyer. And then he was like, man, I am destroying. But then he realized, no, I got to be a savior. And it goes beyond the belief and the fate, you know, because fate does not know, you know. And that's what we see about all these characters. They had to go beyond the idea of fate. And when they do that, now you see how we can, you know, we have to change our ways of thinking so that we won't keep putting harm on another and not knowing that this is what's causing it to continue. Because if I say I don't like you and I continue not liking you, then that's also a reason why I'm bad now. And no longer you're bad. I want to continue not liking you. You're nothing bad you did to me, you know, and it's just something you did I don't like, you know what I mean? And we got to create not these black holes, because we see them. That's what's going on right now. New black holes popping up. Well, we got a lot of error energy of ourselves that we ain't fixed yet. And we call it shadow working. And if you're going into your shadow, start, you know, look at what's aggressive in you, you know what I mean? And change it. Change your ways and maybe say, you know, forgive me for those who didn't know, you know what I mean? Or just say, I forgive myself because I didn't know. The best way to do is to start first there. When you get more in tune with the reality of what Black Adam was giving us, was check yourself. Check yourself before you start checking others. And, you know, and then when others are wanting you to do certain things, make sure they're equipped to handle what you got for them. Because I noticed the sister, she backed up Adam the whole way through, even though she was like, just don't teach my son that stuff. You, he was like, man, you got to teach him how to feel hurt and you got to make them beg for mercy. And he was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know, she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, don't teach him none of that. I need you to help my people out, but don't teach him none of that. You know, and it's like, how can I help you? And then, so he was like, well, then his father must do it. And then he looked at his brother, and he was like, nah, I'm sister and brother. We don't do none of that. We ain't that kind of type of people. So you can see that that's not cultural, right? To have brothers and sisters do that kind of stuff. Yet it is a culture, because they're showing that clearly we're not going intimate, but we're going to still be the uncle and the aunt towards, you know, a child that's in between. So we can see that this clearly has a village life moral value in here that, to me, it gave me the teary-eyed to say, you know what I mean? Like, here it is, someone who's like a god, and he looking at us, the lowest people on the entity of the ground, and the ones that don't have the guns and the ones who saying, help me, why they really still being a rebel though. But it's like, I need some help though. I can't do this on my own. Oh, see, now what put you in that predicament? You know what I mean? So that's the made up part into the story, that not everybody gonna always be there. Yeah, somebody's gonna be there to help you out. So it's the effort. Take your time, breathe through it, use that nostril nose like you can, and find out your own Adam within yourself, so that you won't Adam blowing up everything, you know. And that way you can not be an Adam diffuse bomb. I mean, a fuse bomb, an Adam diffuse bomb. And that way you can diffuse some of these things. Because if you notice that the elements are fire, earth, air, and rain in the 4 of those departments. But if you had 5 departments, it would be fire, air, water, metal, wood. That's why they had to give it to you in a cartoon avatar, so that you can at least see your elements. This is the same way you can heal yourself. Once you do this healing, everything starts to go in your favor. If you don't, this is why all this stuff like Adam was having, he had to look back. He started to feel like, dang, I am dark. Because he's like, I ain't got no love. I don't love nobody. Like, I don't love the people. I ain't love the people I'm helping. Like, dang, I ain't no good. So then he had to check his ego. He had to, he had the ego check moment. And so at the end, which was the most valuable part, not the end, but at the end, because had to throw their end in. But the end that I saw before that other end was when he finally got to the throne, and he's like, and she's like, yep, go on, take a seat, whatever. So he goes up, sits on the thing. Then she's like, so how you like it? He's like, is it, how's it feel? And he said, wrong. And he just flew up in the air and just destroyed the throne. Now, in the mentality, yes, the diplomacy, the diplomatic side. Now, in the reality of us, no, because the throne represents the woman. And so you can't destroy the feminine. And why she's allowing it, that was the deeper part. That was the history. So if we look at our legend is being whited out. So that's why that part was important to know, that that was a reversal right there. The throne represents the woman and the man represents him sitting on it. Not saying that a physical man got to sit on a physical woman. The mental woman helped out the physical man. And that's how we had a spiritual man concept. This is why we look for divinity in our women. That's why we feel heart shed or heart breaks when we don't find it in our women. This is why we as men also disappointed in ourselves when we're not illustrating it for our women. So there's another way that we have to still put this back into its own perspective. We can watch the movies all day. It's just that we do got to say, hey, pause it. What you see? What you looking at? What colors is that? Start to give them critical thinking. Don't just let them watch the whole movie and they say, oh, that was a bad movie. Oh, that was a good movie. Or, like in Killmonger, because we got to go over that. I don't know too many people know that, but we got to do the Killmonger one. I mean, the Panther 1 and Panther 2 and put them in a collabo so you see the between what happened and what's still going on. Because it's happening right now, if y'all don't notice. That Gen 6, was it Gen 6 or Gen 5? I think it was Gen 5. But the Gen 5 is a now illustration of the black on black crime 5-on-1. So I'm like, we're going from 5 to 6 and we're going to keep going up on these numbers, but we're not realizing we're being put back in the front of media as if we hate each other. And they keep showing it back as if we hate each other. I'm like, wait a minute. This is the Killmonger joint. This is Panther and the Killmonger. T'Challa and the Killmonger. They wanted to kill each other. But it was like, why? Because it's the red and blue. And that was like how to make one in conflict of each other, was always showing that they always fighting. There's times we don't want to fight, but then there's times we've been fueled to fight. That's right. So if you know about your fuel, change it up, refuel yourself in a different way, and refuse to fight. You ain't got to fight for everything. Some of the stuff we finding out is a spiritual warrior to this. You can live to see another day. You can rethink these thoughts. You ain't got to actually go right to the reaction. As soon as somebody hit me, I react. Like, no. Don't react like that. What if there's 20 other people in the room? They waiting for you to react. You ain't gonna make it out. So it's plan ahead and even plan what you don't plan for. You know what I mean? Because if you was a teacher, you got 20 children and only one child come to the room today and all the other 19 children are absent, you gonna still teach the class? Just saying. This is your reality. I give thanks to y'all. Much love. Peace. Respect.